What's up, guys? Tyler back on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel, and today we have your Labor Day weekend predictions for week one. Man, a loaded Saturday, Sunday, and Monday loaded weekend for college football. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and let us know which games I'm wrong about and which games you agree with me, and whatever your comments are, please let us know down below. But I chose the 10 biggest games in my opinion. So first things first, let's start it out with the first one. First game we're going to pick is actually my upset pick. I wouldn't say this is the top 10 game, but a matchup that is. I was close between Hawaii, UCLA, then I watched Hawaii play against Delaware State. Was kind of disappointed. But Wyoming, man, this is a team that's going to surprise some people out in the Mountain West. Seems like almost every year they pull an upset. They did last year. Now, they have a very veteran team overall, veteran O-line. They're starting 9 seniors on defense, okay? They were a pretty solid team last year. Bring back Evan Skowata at QB and then brought in DJ Jones. This team's going to be able to run the football. I think they are going to surprise some people out in the Mountain West. Finish top 4 in the Mountain West. And they're going to take down Arizona State. They're only a 6.5 road underdog. Yeah, give me Wyoming in this upset. Since it's college game day, that would be my super dog pick, taking Wyoming. But here's the next game. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon had some off-the-field issues coming in, but Oklahoma State brings back quite a bit on this team regardless. Their defense hopefully will be much better than what it was last year. This was an interesting team, had a really tough start. Almost, in fact, They always start sluggish, it seems, under Mike Gundy. This South Dakota State team's very, very underrated. They can match for a little bit against Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State will pull this one out late. That's why this spread is so much closer than what people think. South Dakota State's one of the best teams in FCS this year, but give me Oklahoma State to survive at home. Have Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt. I actually have Virginia Tech preseason top 25 in my polls, with them going 9-3 or 10-2. I think they're going to struggle on the road against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt under Clark Lee has they've started out relatively nice. They are a 14.5 point home underdog here. I think it's going to be a sluggish, lower scoring game. Vanderbilt completely flipped that roster. It seems like Clark Lee went out and recruited so much transfers. Maybe we'll see from Nate Johnson. He was supposed to be the saving grace for Utah after Cam Rising, but I guess he just transferred over here to Vandy to be a backup. If not, he is supposed to start. They got that New Mexico State transfer as well. I think Vandy will keep this close and limit possessions here. And I think Drones and Virginia Tech struggle, but get the dub on the road. Then we have Michigan at home taking on Fresno State, another dangerous Mountain West team that I think might surprise some people, and they're going to surprise some people here. Michigan has had somewhat of issues, it seems, with position battles. They still have battles going on. A lot of people think that's good, but in reality, it's usually bad, especially at the quarterback position. I hope they start Alec Orji, but it looks like they might go with the veteran Tuttle. I kind of hope not. But this Fresno State offense is extremely talented. Jalen Moss at quarterback, a wide receiver, Mac Delana as well, Sheldon James. Those wide receivers are going to be pretty good. They have a really underrated running back in Malik Sherrod, and obviously Mikey Keene, one of the best, might even be the best Group of 5 starting quarterbacks in all of Group of 5. They added in, breaking news, Corey Foreman, 5-star talent from USC, and they're led by Hamilton and Dean Clark. They're 2 DBs back there. I think this is going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be a very close game for 4 quarters. Fresno State has pulled some crazy upsets in the past. Like even last year, Mikey Keene had 500 yards passing against Purdue. Now, it was against Purdue, but I think Fresno State can keep this close. But in the end, I'm going to go with the more talented team. I think Michigan survives a huge scare. In a brief summary of this game, what I'm expecting from Florida State, Boston College, kind of similar to Georgia Tech, Florida State, in which I do expect Boston College to be able to run the ball. They added in, breaking news, Trayshawn Ward. He played at Florida State for a little bit there, and obviously their quarterback, Thomas Castellanos, who's he's the picture-perfect version of a dual threat. Had, I think, 2,400 yards passing last year, almost 1,200 yards rushing. They are going to be a little bit worse version of Georgia Tech. I think they're going to be able to run the ball, especially looking at that Florida State defensive line, was just pushed around But I think Florida State's going to be able to move the football just a bit more against Boston College. Both teams are going to play long possessions here. And I think Florida State's going to survive a home scare from Boston College and Bill O'Brien. Give me the Seminoles, but Boston College covers that 16.5. Before I show you my score prediction, now we're getting to more of the in-depth predictions here. But Penn State travels to Morgantown, West Virginia to take on West Virginia. Now, this is the trendy upset pick. Penn State's only an 8.5-point road favorite. You got to go back to 2000, I believe it was 21, when they started on the road against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was receiving a lot of hype, kind of like this West Virginia team. Wisconsin actually was the favored team, though. West Virginia is not. 8.5-point underdog here for West Virginia. And this is going to come down to the line of scrimmage. Now, both teams have really good running backs. You start out for West Virginia, Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson. Both are going to have, I think, solid games in this. And then Singleton and Katron Allen for Penn State, obviously better. But the key is going to be on the offense and defensive line. In my opinion, I don't think West Virginia is going to be able to match it with Penn State. I think Penn State's offense is also going to be much better than what it was last year. I'm much higher on Penn State than a lot of people. Now, I do have them at 10-2, but I do think their offensive line, their offense with Drew Aller in his second year is going to be better. And then Katron Allen and Noah Singleton, both of them are really good running backs, both top 10 in my opinion. Can West Virginia match it? They have some they have some talent at linebacker: Josiah Trotter, Aubrey Burks, and even Tyron Bradley. But unfortunately, had Penn State pulling the dub out in Morgantown and covering that 8.5. I just think Penn State's just going to be a little bit too much for West Virginia to handle, as well as it's a big noon kickoff. Man, Fox, you guys got to allow some of these games to be night games. Imagine if this was a night game on Friday night or even Thursday night. Boy, oh boy, would that be much more challenging for Penn State. But because of Fox Big Noon Kickoff, this is their game of the week. They always have it at noon. I don't like it, but I'm gonna give Penn State a lot of benefit of the doubt here. I still think they're gonna have a real good defense. I don't think it's gonna be as good as what it was last year with Manny Diaz at defensive coordinator. But I still think it's going to be top 20, but there's a big difference between top 5 and top 20. I think they'll give up some points. I think this is a little bit more scoring than maybe what people expect, but I do have Penn State covering and winning on the road. Leading into the 3:30 game, Miami takes on Florida in Gainesville, Ben Hill Stadium. Oh man, this is probably the second best matchup, I think, of the weekend. Maybe third. LSU, USC, I think, is probably number 2, actually. And then number 1, I think, is Notre Dame, Texas A&M. But this is definitely the third best matchup. Both teams, for this being the first game of the season, these are two of the most evenly matched teams, it feels like. Now, quarterback position, both come in with experience, but it's a transfer. Cam Ward, who led the nation in fumbles last year, but he was at Washington State, whose O-line was Washington State's team was horrible. If they didn't have Cam Ward, they definitely would have went 2-10 or 3-9. That's how much of an impact player Cam Ward was. He was a really good passer, couldn't really get the run game going. I expect them to be able to run the football this year with Cam Ward. And then obviously this was the biggest, I think this is the key addition for Miami was Damian Martinez, transfer from Oregon State. The issue for Miami is going to be the secondary. Now, can Graham Mertz adjust with some of these transfer wide receivers, as well as Eugene Wilson, sophomore wide receiver? He's got so much talent, but the two transfers, Dyke from Wisconsin and Elijah Badger, who I'm very high on. The DBs are way better at Florida than what they are at Miami. I was so back and forth on this game. It's a home game for Florida, but I expect both teams to play at a really significant level. Both these teams need this game, but in the end, I think the Miami Hurricanes are just a little bit too much for Florida. Cam Ward makes one or two more plays than Graham Mertz in this game, especially with his feet. I think the Miami Hurricanes survive a road scare from a pretty solid Florida group who I think is going to compete somewhat in the SEC, maybe get to a bowl game. That schedule is just ridiculous, but I think they're going to start out with a loss at home to Miami. I'm going to go with Mario Cristobal and his experience over Billy Napier. I think the Canes are going to get it done. Big matchup at noon, though, before the Miami-Florida game. Number 14, Clemson, travels to Atlanta to take on UGA. I'm a Georgia fan, but I am extremely worried for this game as the line is at 13.5, and a lot of people are taking the dogs and covering. You got to stop right there. Clemson can match Georgia based upon a front seven led by Barrett Carter, one of the best linebackers in all of college football, as well as his two edge rushers, and Peter Woods changing positions there to defensive end. I think this is going to be a lot closer than what people were originally thinking it would be. Clemson's offensive line returned all 5 starters from last year. Garrett Riley in year 2. Cade Klubnik should be much improved. Phil Maffa at running back. Antonio Williams at slot wide receiver, Tyler Brown at wide receiver. I mean, and Georgia has a lot of injuries right now. They're not that deep, it looks like, on defensive line, running back as well. Looks like Branson Robinson's going to get the start, and I think Trevor Etienne's going to be suspended, and Roderick Robinson is out for this game regardless. So Georgia's pretty banged up, it looks like. I think Clemson's going to compete in this game, but I think Georgia's going to wear them down towards the fourth quarter and get the dub. Georgia kicks a lot of field goals in this game. I have them kicking 4, winning this one 26-17. I think Clemson is going to limit Georgia as best as they can. Clemson should have a top 10, top 15 defense, and I do expect Clemson to somewhat move the football. I think I just trust Carson Beck, the offensive line for UGA as well. I mean, just led by one of the best in college football in Tate Ratledge, and the Georgia's passing attack. Mike Bobo, he's going to have to draw up a lot of stretch plays, in my opinion, try to space out some of your athletes because Georgia has Arian Smith and Anthony Evans, who 2 guys I'm expecting to look out for this game. But I think the Dogs hang on here in Atlanta, pull away late, and win 26-17 against a very, very good Clemson team. Don't hate on Clemson this year. Possibly the most intriguing matchup is USC versus LSU in Las Vegas. Both teams had pretty bad defenses last year, but elite offenses. Both teams had the last 2 Heisman winners in Caleb Williams for 2022 and for 2023, Jaden Daniels, as well as they're both starting new quarterbacks who started their bowl games. And oh, by the way, both looked very good in their bowl games and won their bowl games. Just a crazy story here. I love this game. I think this is the best matchup of week 1. Of course, we get it on Sunday night, like I said, in Vegas. Boy, oh boy, I do trust LSU's defense, though, to be much improved this year. LSU is my sleeper team this year in college football. Now, they do have a 13th ranking, but I think LSU is going to be a lot better defensively than what people think. I think their offense is still going to be really, really good. Deep at running back. Can never forget Harold Perkins, who debatably was playing out of position last year. I like LSU here. I know it's a weird, I guess it is a neutral sighting game, but you would think USC would favor, but I'm hearing it's going to be about 50-50. Give me the Tigers to cover and win this game by 7, holding USC under 30 points. I don't think both these teams are going to score in the 40s like a lot of people do. A lot of people are riding that over. I think it's around 60.5, so basically I'm right there. But give me the Tigers. I think LSU has something to prove this year, and Brian Kelly has been an elite coach in his 3rd year at every program that he's been. Just look back at what he did at Cincinnati, went 12-0, won the Big East, kind of on a fluke against Pittsburgh. I remember that game. That was a weird snow game. But then went on and got destroyed by Tim Tebow in his last game, 51-24. But remember what he did at Notre Dame. Went 12-0 again, went to the national title, obviously got blown out by Alabama, but both times are in year 3, and LSU is kind of a weird, sneaky team there with that. I think LSU is going to make a run. This is my hot take in the college football playoff. They might even make the national title game. But starts off right here in Vegas. I have the Tigers taking down USC. Finally, the last game we're predicting here on an intriguing matchup here. Notre Dame, ranked 7th in the nation, taking on Texas A&M, who is ranked 20th. A lot of people always hate on Texas A&M. Actually, a lot of people always hate on both these teams, think they're overrated every single season. Now, Notre Dame went out and got Mike Elko's own quarterback, Riley Leonard, who is hopefully for Notre Dame going to elevate that rush game, as well as Jardarian Price and a couple other good running backs that they have, versus on the opposite side, a team that might actually have more talent than Notre Dame. You base it off a composite. Both teams are neck and neck. Texas A&M probably has the better wide receivers. I'm biased when I say this, but I really like Connor Wegman. I said he was the best quarterback in his class, and to be honest, he's looked like it thus far. If he can stay healthy, it's going to rely on this Texas A&M offensive line. If you've been watching this Aggie offensive line over the past couple of years, they start out so sluggish. Even back in 2020, when they won the Orange Bowl against North Carolina, the first 2 games they got pushed around, and the first team they played was a winless Vanderbilt. So they need to start out hot in this game. Now, if you turn it over, Notre Dame lost 3 out of 5, or they're actually starting 3 new timers at that offensive line, and a true freshman a lot of people are high on. I don't know, man. I'm back and forth on this one, but because it's in Aggie land and Johnny Manziel, folks, he is the guest picker, celebrity picker for College Game Day. I like Connor Wegman just a little bit more than Riley Leonard. I think Moose Muhammad's going to have a key role in here. And Nick Scorton for the Aggies is going to get to the quarterback just enough. And I got the Aggies pulling the home, I guess, upset, even though they are favorite. They're going to win at home. Win this game 24-17, something lower scoring. I'm going to take the Aggies to just force just enough turnovers and just outplay Notre Dame. I think this is such a real good matchup, but I love the Aggies' defensive line in this matchup, and I think they're going to disrupt the passing game and rushing game just a little bit more than the alternative. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, share if you're new, and, hey, let us know if you agree or disagree with me here, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.